Okay, welcome back everyone. Last few people coming in after lunch. I hope you had an enjoyable lunch. I hope you're refreshed and hydrated and ready for a fun-packed afternoon. I always feel very guilty. You know, I leave you with the parting message: get off the social media, get talking, get engaging, chat to one another, have conversations, which is exactly what you do. And then halfway through that, we all say, right, everybody shut up, back in the room, it's time to go again. So my apologies for cutting the conversation short. But I hope you had some good networking, and I hope you had, hopefully, some good business between you all. Okay, in a second, I'll be introducing our first speaker of the afternoon. But I wanted personally to share with you a short little video from somebody I very much admire. Nothing at all to do with the tourism industry. Nothing at all. More to do with good business practice, and I think, you know, a couple of things which make for a good business. I'd like to introduce you a short video from Steve Jobs.
People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing, and it's totally true. And the reason is because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, if you're not having fun doing it and you don't really love it, you're going to give up. And that's what happens to most people, actually. If you really look at the ones that ended up, you know, being successful, unquote, in the eyes of society, and the ones that didn't, oftentimes it's the ones that are successful loved what they did so they could persevere when it got really tough. And the ones that didn't love it quit because they're sane, right? Who would want to put up with this stuff if you don't love it? So it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of worrying constantly. And if you don't love it, you're going to fail. So you got to love it. You got to have passion. And I think that's the high order bit. The second thing is you've got to be a really good talent scout, because no matter how smart you are, you need a team of great people, and you've got to figure out how to size people up fairly quickly, make decisions without knowing people too well, and hire them, and see how you do and refine your intuition, and be able to help build an organization that can eventually just build itself, because you need great people around you.
So Steve Jobs, passion and people, two of the key ingredients for any successful business, and arguably more truer, and we've already had some discussion around this in the field of tourism and hospitality. Okay, the next speaker, many of you will know well. Ros Halley is the, as it says on the screen, the Ayrshire and Arran tourism manager. Okay, now rather than stick to the introduction that was in the brochure for Ros, I thought I'd just like to share with you one little comment I found that was actually on the Ayrshire College website. Ayrshire College interviewed Ros. You'll find the whole interview on the blog, by the way. Please go and have a look at their website and find this whole thing. But basically, she was asked, what would you say to encourage people to consider a career in tourism? Okay, ties in nicely with some of the questions we had just before lunch. Ros's reply: I would encourage anyone with an interest in people, a love of culture, a passion for the outdoors or hospitality to consider tourism as a great career. The skills required are varied and transferable, and whilst an understanding of the local area can add huge value to the visitor experience, much more important is a passion for the area and an ability to make the experience come alive. Working in tourism is all about making connections, building relationships, and creating experiences. Again, people and passion. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Ros Halley.
Good afternoon, everyone. If I look a bit like a rabbit in the headlights, that's because I do feel like a rabbit in the headlights. Did you all enjoy your lunch? Yeah. I think we should show some appreciation to the Park Hotel for incorporating all the local food. The journey here this year, you'll be glad to know, was uneventful. If you remember last year, I was coming through Prestwick, and I always try and wear something colourful when it's the gathering. And last year I realised I clashed with Costley's Easter display. It was uneventful until I arrived here at the Park Hotel, and then realised that I'd been upstaged by one of my own team. the piper outside. Colin, I'll get you back later. The theme of this year's conference is doing things differently. So I decided this year I would do it differently as well. I normally give a bit of a summary of all the things the tourism team have been doing. But I'm going to leave that up to the team themselves. They're quite capable of speaking to you all directly and being able to share with you the many different resources they've put in place. I do, however, recognise there is a demand from the industry for us to, every now and again, remind people of all those different resources. So you should see on your table a small summary document which really, I guess, summarises the 12 key theme areas. I hope you'll take this away, and I hope that you'll use it as a reference document. So for this year, I hope to address this conference looking outwards, looking beyond our own boundaries, and looking at what international researchers are saying will likely be the things, the trends that will affect tourism in the near future. Even since the last gathering, I think it's true to say that things have changed, things have moved on. And in many of the discussions that I've had with businesses over the last 12 months, it's quite evident that people are trying to get their heads around this new world that we live in. We have to learn to, as other speakers have said, capitalise on the changing consumer behaviours. And it's not just the travel behaviours that we need to take notice of. There are all sorts of things going on in this world, whether it be the digital tools, globalisation, whether it be about generational factors or society in general. The future will be defined by those who are able to respond quickly. And I'm going to focus the rest of my presentation on what's considered to be the 12 key issues coming from the global world. The first one is around creativity. There is worldwide interest in being more creative, probably because we all have certain tools at our fingertips. And we're seeing this most often within the events or business tourism sector. However, it's true to say that the technology that's working its way through business tourism and the event sector is also seeping into other parts of our industry. So often now we see that we expect some kind of theatre within visitor attractions or even within the accommodation sector. The rise of this new technology is affecting every stage of our lives. Next generation attendees at business tourism events really crave some kind of mash-up experience. They're not looking to be set in rows and spoken to. They're looking to be involved in the experience. You know, event websites, for example, are looking for that before interaction with delegates and after interaction, not just when they actually attend the event. And people are looking to be entertained as well as to learn things. It'll come as no surprise to you that there is absolutely a booking revolution. And we're looking to see even more mobile payments. So we're just getting our heads around the number of different things we've got to check in the morning and in the afternoon and in the evening. And we can expect that to increase further. We expect to see that Apple will develop its own payment system, and some are talking about Facebook doing the same. On this point, it would be useful for businesses to realise that 42% of all stories on Facebook are travel related. And people reading Facebook comments from their friends and family, 84% say they are influenced by what they see and make travel, holiday decisions based on what they see on Facebook. It's an absolutely incredible number. And if only the businesses could actually work harder to make sure that their messages and their products are reaching those Facebook users at the right time and can influence their friends and family, then we could see an upturn in tourism in Ayrshire. Everything's becoming more central and more mobile. More and more businesses are looking at ways to give customers the option of also booking additional services on their own website. They don't want customers navigating away and then being lost from their control. Booking.com and Expedia are obviously the big global players when it comes to travel market. But we're likely to see some big changes over the next few years. We'll likely see changes in terms of new competitor companies coming on, and I'm sure many of us here in the room will welcome greater flexibility and also more competition about commission rates. But it's not just changes to online travel. We're seeing technology impact also greatly on design. Changes in digital innovation means that what consumers are surrounding themselves with is also changing. Travel brands are downsizing. They're making things simpler. They're changing the environment, so it's actually providing those visitors with what they want, what they expect, and what they need. For us in Ayrshire, I guess we need to take a hard look and think, well, you know, are we providing visitors actually with what they want, what they need? Or are we still providing them sometimes with what we think they might want? Is there an opportunity for us to simplify things? When we talk about design, if we just look around us and keep our eyes open, you'll start to see lots and lots of changes around. If you've been to an airport recently, you'll see that there are lots of different ways that you can have leisure facilities. If you go to a restaurant, there are a number of different places now that you can book and order differently. And we can see across the accommodation sector changes within the environment. The best designs, I guess, are the ones that probably allow guests total control, to feel like they're in control, to take away all the problems they might find and experience in their hotel room. So, usable plug points, having a table in the right place, at the right height, at the right size even. And also we'll see much more in terms of social gathering space with Wi-Fi. People are expecting to be able to go down and lounge around on a nice sofa, order a drink, and be able to chat to their friends and family who may not be with them. It will come as no doubt that mobile is changing, and I think we can all relate to this, oh my God, there is no Wi-Fi here. But data plans for mobile phones are becoming all-inclusive, and we're not just talking within the UK, we're talking about internationally. Now that's important, but here in Ayrshire I think there's something even more important, and that is we need to see much better coverage. It's not so much, oh my God, there's no Wi-Fi here, it's, oh my God, I can't get anything here. And quite often that's the case, especially on a trip around Arran recently, I realised just how awful at times the signal could be. We need, if we're going to be big players in this marketplace, to make sure that we've got the best possible coverage across the whole area. With this mobile technology changing, we're also seeing the changing time frame of visitors, what they're looking to do and when. As the booking window shrinks, we're likely to see more moves into what's called adjacent categories. So you're expected to have much more information about tours, things to see and do, and activities. The emphasis will be much more in the future on in-destination bookings. So people expect, when they're here, when their mind's in the right place, to be able to here and now book, real time. And I think in Ayrshire, if we look ahead the next few years, we're going to have to get much, much better at that as well. It does, of course, present real opportunities as well as challenges. And there are opportunities for businesses here to upsell to their customers in a way which they haven't done before. We are moving into, if you like, a new kind of sweetie shop. Visitors are no longer satisfied with keyword match services when they go onto Google. If you've noticed, things are changing on Google as well. People are actually speaking to Google. They've come to expect this high level of service across the board. The rise of the semantic search means that people can use and phrase things in their own words, actually in slang. They can actually even use the Ayrshire dialect and it'll be picked up. And we see that people in this technology are interacting differently. It gives us a real challenge here in Ayrshire to look at what are we doing on our websites to make sure that we are communicating effectively and keeping up to. Something you may not have come across recently or up till now is what's called the sharing economy, and it's considered to be a key trend that all tourism businesses should be aware of. It's moved beyond what we used to think of as kind of couch surfing, you know, young people, students who find people online and say, can I stay in your place and just sleep on the couch? to a much bigger movement. And I think even the traditional businesses could learn a lot about how these successful businesses, how the sharing economy is developing across the world. Because people are looking for these new different experiences, and there are new products and new marketing tools out there. What essentially it means is that people are looking for that authentic experience. They want to be able to do the kind of things that perhaps locals do, and we shouldn't look over those things. I think sometimes we think, oh, people won't be interested in it, but in fact they may be. People are looking maybe for a home-cooked meal. They're maybe looking to share a car. They're maybe looking to hire a local guide. These are all part of the sharing economy. And as scary as it might be, if you go onto Airbnb, and if you've not been there before, go on there and have a look. See what kind of communication's going on. The crazy thing is that if you're looking to book accommodation on Airbnb, not only can you find out everything you want to know about the accommodation, you can find out what other people thought about that particular accommodation, and you can even find out about your host. How did they rate the host? Almost like looking into Facebook and checking them out before you actually book. And rest assured, as perhaps an accommodation provider, you too can go on and check out your prospective guests before you accept a booking. All this is going on, and all this seems strange and weird, but it's not going to go away. We need to be much more aware of this new world that we're operating in. Before moving on to some of the lifestyle trends that are considered to be of high importance going forward, I just wanted to put this slide up because it's something that we probably don't think too much about, and that's about disruption to travel. Of course, it's not just technology that sometimes has the potential to turn things on their heads. Despite appearances from the tourism brochures and from websites, travel doesn't exist in a vacuum. We all have to be much more aware of the world that we're operating in. We may think of tourism as being a means to escape, but we just can't always escape reality. European businesses are doing well to adapt to this somewhat turbulent travel world that we're operating in by looking to maximise the likes of the staycation market. Again, I would think that in Ayrshire, we probably don't communicate as well with our domestic visitors on our online presences as we do with our international visitors. Sometimes, again, we might need to look at what kind of things are we selling, what are we promoting to our UK guests. Disruption to travel, of course, might not be something you think, well, in Ayrshire we don't really have to worry too much about that. Thankfully, we don't have too much bother. But I don't think, actually, as businesses, we can afford to take that stance. We need all to be more aware of how safe our visitors feel. We should all be thinking about how do we make our towns and villages more safe, more welcoming, and what role can I play to make sure that they have a fantastic stay. I said it was all about lifestyle, and so much of the research out there at the moment about trends in tourism all relate back to the technology and lifestyle. Customers are seeking those deeper connections. Those connections to brand values, and Guy mentioned values earlier on and getting to know your customers. We're using really seductive images and being able to draw them in to encourage them to stay, to feel loyal and to buy more. And this can be broadly seen across all successful travel businesses. Businesses are tapping into that story. I wonder again how many businesses here have actually captured the story of even their business or their town online. And if businesses want to build that loyalty, not only do we have to tell the story better, but we also have to understand our customers better. And that's not just about saying, where do you come from? Looking beyond the travel industry, we can see some great examples of big brands reaching out to new customers, into new marketplaces. For example, Tiffany, first ever same-sex couple advert, which launched at the same time that gay marriage became legal. Businesses are tapping into that underlying story and connecting with new markets, but they're having to be very innovative about it. And there is an authenticity about this advert because they actually did use a gay couple. So they understand that people are looking beyond the image and want to understand the brand. Again, what is it we're doing that we're appealing to in terms of the lifestyles of our visitors? Of course, I always like to throw in a little bit of a random slide. Of course, it's not always easy for a region or an individual company to reposition itself or to make itself appeal to a new market. But that's exactly what A1 Sauce in America did. We need to understand our customers better. We need to connect up and tell the story. Quite often we're all guilty of not showing how our product can be used. A1 Steak Sauce knew it had to open new doors, and it managed to create an ad that did exactly that. But the real creativity in it was that it did it not only in terms of showing how the product could be used, but it connected up its story in a social media type way, which created a real frenzy and has seen the sales of this sauce soar internationally. It made the sauce have a personality, so let's watch. I think you'll agree that there's certainly a lot of creativity being put into that particular advert, and that probably thinking about Ayrshire Arran and getting beyond the thought that we are some kind of sauce, there's a lot that we can take from that. There was a time when I guess small towns, tried to copy big places, where they thought they had to do what cities do in order to attract visitors. I'm really glad to say that I think we've moved beyond that point in thinking. What we're seeing now is that people are looking for bespoke experiences. They're looking for that authenticity. And we can deliver that without trying to mimic what the big towns or cities do. This movement towards creating authentic experiences is being seen broadly across all travel sectors. And the most successful regions are doing it very, very well. And they're looking at and focusing on design, food offerings, and that cultural interaction. I think it's fair to say we have to make it start on digital. But if the experience is good, then it will continue beyond the digital to the real life experience and back to digital afterwards. As finding something new, maybe a little bit undiscovered, becomes a challenge, then visitors want to be able to tell their friends and family about it immediately. And they do that obviously on Facebook, Instagram, and on other social media platforms. As consumers become more self-serve and more mobile dependent, there are new models that we have to adapt to. And we see this at every point in terms of hospitality. For hotels, it's building different relationships with customers. Within the confines of a property, it's about how hotels are reconfiguring their lobbies. It's about the entertainment and the food and drink offerings. It's about looking at pre, during, and post. But I wonder how many of us here in Ayrshire Arran really think, wow, I don't know if I can do pre and post as well as during. I'm up to here with it already. I'm guessing if we're going to really join this game, then we need to start thinking about the pre and the post as well as the during. So hospitality businesses around the world are looking for inspiration. They're looking for that thing that's going to make the difference and using it creatively. They're looking beyond their own silos. There's no point just looking at what other tourism areas are doing. We have to look at what are the other businesses doing in the world. What inspiration can we take from them? And really understanding your customers also means that you can say, what is it that's influencing these people who are visiting me or influencing those people I want to visit me? Because there's a whole series of things going on that are connecting up and making people think, that's what makes me, not just one thing. By studying your customers and getting to know them better, not just where they've come from, but really getting to know them, you can understand what they're doing and where they're being influenced from. And I've got a really great example here of an international company that stood back and said, I've got to do this differently. They wanted to think out of the box. What is it can make us appeal to a younger generation, to a more diverse segment? Well, they knew there was absolutely no point talking about personal finance. So this is what we put together to reach out to a new audience.
The ways have changed and those who know. But let's just say what borrowed from. From the right side of the road. And show me so I would know. Listen, you just want it. And again.
Content is still king, but I think it's fair to say that visuals reign. That we may have all this new technology, but it's still early days for most of us here. There have been loads and loads of moments shared, and no doubt after the conference today there'll be even more moments shared. But we've still to see really how that will roll out for tourism. But the one thing we do already see quite clearly, and all the research says this, great visuals carry, no matter who's doing the sharing. Businesses with a real desire to grow are investing in great photography and great film. Content is still king. This may be the final trend, but it's something that we should all take away from this conference. We really need to embrace the power of the image. This might, again, make some of us in this room feel a little bit uncomfortable, all a little bit, I think we're looking for something deeper. But we've got to understand this is how the world's working. The bragging culture is here to stay. And visitors want to be able to tell their friends and family immediately about what they're doing. We all need to get better at making the most of this trend. Look at how people day and night, they waited and waited and waited at George Square in Glasgow to be able to get their chance to stand there, take that photograph and send it to their friends and family. I could not believe the buzz around George Square, all because of that, which for them symbolised the fantastic time they were having in Glasgow. I wonder, what are we doing in our own businesses or in our own towns and our own villages to create more focal points, to be able to create things where people will want to go and want to selfie? Perhaps we could take that away from today too. Finally, I hope that you have enjoyed this short journey through what's considered to be the 12 key trends to affect tourism. I hope you may also take away a few little ideas that you can act upon. And I'd like to leave you with this final thought. It's not the strongest of the species that survive, not the most intelligent, but the one that is most responsive to change. Charles Darwin. I sincerely hope that we all in Ayrshire Arran tourism embrace this change and see it in a really positive light and make the most of all the potential we have in this region. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ros. That was great, and thankfully leads into a number of themes that I'd now like to discuss with you all. Just very quickly, it's only fair I share with you one of the things I was tempted to do but didn't as I was pulling together all of the speaker presentations for the kind of master document that I'm running behind here, was to take Ros's presentation and that last slide in George Square in front of the big G. I was going to just remove it, not tell her, and put in the one of me and my family in exactly the same pose. In the end, I didn't do it in case actually that meant something to Ros, and she's wondering who the hell this family are on screen right now that she's never seen before. In the end, I didn't, but it proves the point. We are all looking for selfie opportunities. Maybe not all of us yet. Of course, there still are skeptics in the room, people who would never dream about taking out their mobile phone and doing a selfie. However, that is changing fast. I can't stress that enough. In fact, give me a wee quick show of hands, the middle table, who has the selfie stick. Come on, you know who you are. Oh, there's some more at the back as well. Okay, in a second, I'll tee this up somewhere along the next half hour. We're all going to do a group selfie. We're going to do our first en masse Ayrshire and Arran selfie. I thought I'd throw that in there and wind a whole load of you up. Okay, it's always weird when you have to introduce yourself as the next speaker, but I'll try and do it. The next speaker is Gary Ennis. He is the Managing Director and founder of NS Design, a digital agency going now for over 16 years, helping businesses large and small get to grips with the internet, social media, mobile technologies and everything related. Whether it's the public sector, private sector, they are a wonderful company who can help you. Please get in touch, details on the back wall. Okay.